Ladies and gentlemen, I haven't seen a group of characters sit around and discuss the same situation for over an hour and a half since last I seen 12 Angry Men. But there I was watching Fantastic Four First Steps. You want to talk about it? Sit down, let's have a drink. Ah, Fantastic Four First Steps. More like First Draft. Yes, the fantastic propaganda and Pedro Pascal pomegranate glaze stops here as I give you the real tomato juice. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about that pure V8 love. But as always, I've got pros and I've got cons. Let's start off with the pros, shall we? In this film, we get to see the Fantastic Four family in a new era. Reed Richards and Sue Storm have just had their first son, a baby boy. During this time, we see our newly designed Silver Surfer come to Earth to deliver our heroes a warning. Our heroes must choose between sacrificing Earth to a giant planet-eating entity named Galactus, or sacrificing their son for the fate of the planet. Now listen, I didn't hate this movie. I just hated myself for going to see it. No, but seriously, it wasn't dirt. It just could have been better. Alright, I'll get more into the cast later, but I will start by saying that I could feel a genuine connection between the cast here. More so the characters themselves. But it did feel like a family. The entire movie honestly felt real in a way. Perhaps too real sometimes, but I guess that gave it a somewhat unique tone to it. It's actually floated around the con section for me, but I don't want to get hate mail in my driveway. Honestly, one thing I loved about this movie, it presented us with a plot, and it followed it all the way through. Now I know that seems like a real cop-out pro, and maybe I'm pulling that out of my pitch black ass, but I assure you that I genuinely did like this a lot. In a superhero movie era where every director feels they need to have 4 villains, 9 supporting characters, and 2 plot twists per movie, it's nice to follow a movie that can just go straight forward from beginning to end. So, Matt Shakman, I thank you for that. Now listen, unfortunately, that is all that I have for pros. And I'm sorry, but I'm not. There are much more cons I've listed for this movie than there are pros, but I promise you, you're gonna want to stick around for the rating because I did not hate it as much as it seems like. But, now on to the cons. Okay, so there are literally only 2 action sequences in this entire movie. I can actually count them on my hooves. I mean, I was excited to see Johnny go supernova or Mr. Fantastic do something fantastic. The Thing never had like an all-out moment, maybe some type of berserk, do-or-die moment. The Thing, he felt weak to me. And then I guess Invisible Woman did get a shine moment in the movie, but that was as boring as you can expect the person whose powers are invisible can go. Now, Galactus was alright. The introduction to him was actually pretty cool. They had these glowing dark red eyes that truly reminded me of my father. I actually loved it. But overall, he also did nothing besides walk around and destroy buildings with his giantness. Instead of any of the aforementioned wishes, all we got from our heroes was a bunch of small showcases of their superpowers. Throughout the movie, our heroes were constantly using their powers to do mundane tasks, and each time it was presented to us like we were supposed to awe at the moment. We see things like Human Torch using himself as a light source when the lights blow out. Or instead of walking across the chalkboard to write more words, Mr. Fantastic simply stretches his arms out. Now that's what I call action. This was just a very long episode of Fairly Odd Parents, but like the newer seasons when Poop came. It felt more like a superpowered soap opera. It felt like I was watching a PG-13 version of Misfits. But I actually like Misfits, I would highly recommend that. The world itself just felt very fake. Now, what I mean by that is not the environment. I actually very much enjoyed the futuristic aesthetic sprinkled on top of a 1950s era. It really just looked nice. What I mean is everything else surrounding our main cast. Anything written for our side characters was just absolutely poor. And then we get our main cast stepping in, who's delivering lines a bit too seriously for a superhero movie. I think Matt Shakman is trying to tell us that he actually wanted to do a Batman. DC, if you're seeing this, please don't let him do it. We do not need another Bruce Wayne. Truthfully, the only side characters in this movie were actually extras, and so we had nothing else to feed off except our main cast. And you can't really expect any over-the-top delivery from an extra now, can you? Spoiler alert, at one point we see Mole Man enter the movie at some point in the middle of the film for a very short time. But I swear on my dark soul, that was the biggest audience reaction my theater made. His 15 seconds of fame were truly hilarious. And all it took was a little personality. Okay, speaking of personalities, let's just talk about the casting in general. When I first saw the trailer for First Steps, I already feared that the cast we saw was going to misrepresent my favorite superhero family team ever. Well, Barman strikes again. The trailer did not lie. The Thing's voice is softer than Franklin's. If you haven't seen Fantastic Four in any other piece of media at all, then trust me when I tell you, that shit's wrong. I can't get over Pedro's mustache. Now, there's versions of Mr. Fantastic in comics where he has a beard, sure. But just a lone mustache, no. Like, I feel like the mustache is part of Pedro's contract at this point. Like, he won't do a role without it. I mean, Johnny Storm was alright, but every attempt to make us laugh failed like a clown that forgot its nose. And Sue Storm, well, she just kind of fit in with the rest of the bunch. Now, the CGI, surprise, surprise, Hollywood Universal con. I'll be quick. The Thing looked like Clayface. I mean, Matt, come on, brother. This is not Batman. It was given Chicken Run vibes. Now, before I say the big con of the day, I do want you guys to understand that hate actually feeds my soul. So bring it on. Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic is a huge no. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, but I am an avid comic reader. I haven't read a ton of Fantastic Four, but I've read my fair share. All that to say that I know Rita Richards is supposed to be a boring character. But, fuck you. It's a movie. I mean, give him something to latch onto. Yes, he had his wife and he had his kid, but every line was just delivered with such a little emotion. It was like I was watching a depressed Teletubby. Alright, and now to say what everybody's thinking. I liked Crypto better than Franklin too. That's it. I really wanted to give this movie a better score, but Lion was never my best sin. It just simply did not have enough action for me. And what's a superhero film without action? Well, it's much like a documentary about paramedics. All hero, no super. If I had to rate this movie, well, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. I almost gave it a 5.5, but Mole Man saved it. If I had to recommend a better superpowered film involving family, well, I'd recommend the movie Freaks. But I want to know what you're thinking. Talk to me in the comments.